Okay, and joining me now on this very special day are an absolute array of women of cricket in a way to celebrate with us this very special day. Mithali Raj, former India captain, the highest scorer for India at World Cups. Also joining me is Poonam Yadav, Arjuna Award winner, Sushma Verma, former Indian cricketer. I'm also joined by Diana Edulji, one of the great pioneers of this sport for Indian cricket when it first started, and Sharda Ugra, one of India's leading sports journalists. I appreciate all of you joining us, as I said, on this incredibly momentous day when India has lifted the World Cup late last night. The tryst with destiny, as they are calling it, for cricket at midnight. Mithali Raj, to you first. What does it mean for someone like you who came so close and yet couldn't really quite make it with a World Cup in your hands, to actually have that trophy in your hands, presented by some of your teammates who were keen to have you celebrate the occasion with them? What did it mean for you, Mithali, that night yesterday?
I think it all came down to the couple of times that we were in the finals, didn't really cross the line. There were some of the players like Smriti, they were also part of the 2017 World Cup final. To see them cross that line, both of them took this team across. It was a big opportunity. Having the World Cup at home, and we really wanted India to do well in this World Cup. And once they qualified for the semis, because I had a lot of nerves in the semi-final just before the start of that game. But the way the Indian team made a comeback into after losing those three big games and then making a comeback against New Zealand, winning against Australia. The finals, I knew, India will get through. But it was a big night for all of us. Seeing some of these young girls coming off, like Richa Ghosh, Shefali Verma, all of them who've been part of the last 2022 edition World Cup where I led. To see them do so well and fulfill the dreams of all of us in the past, the former cricketers who've always had the dream that India should win a World Cup, and they were able to do that in reality for all of us. So it was a huge, big night.
So for you, the turning point was that win against Australia in the semi-finals. Am I right, Mithali? That was when you knew India can do it.
Well, I knew India can do it. So did I feel that even Australia knew the only team that can beat them is the Indian team. And it was so clinical. I mean, at no point did the girls fumble or in that run chase, losing a couple of early wickets. But that partnership was so important. Harman showed her calmness. Jemima, through the tournament, she spoke about the anxiety, but coming out on that stage in a knockout game to come up with 100 and actually seeing the team through till the end. I mean, that was one hell of a knockout by an Indian. And then in the final, Shafali Verma, I knew that the capability and the skill that she gets, but that's two wickets with that golden arm that she got for India. I think that was also a turning point in the final. She came as sort of a wild card for India in this tournament.
Right. There are lots of course, heroines and heroes in this tournament. The likes of Deepti Sharma, who had an incredible final. Smriti, of course, is a remarkable player. Harmanpreet and Jemima with that knock. Shefali in the finals. Poonam Yadav, was there a particular player who stood out for you for this Indian team, or was it a team effort?
देखिए, मेरे हिसाब से तो टीम एफर्ट ही होता है, क्योंकि क्रिकेट एक टीम स्पोर्ट है, तो किसी एक का नाम लेना बड़ा ही मुश्किल होता है, क्योंकि हर गेम में हर एक नया खिलाड़ी उभर कर आया था। और जिस तरीके से वाइल्ड कार्ड एंट्री हुई है शेफाली वर्मा की, क्योंकि बहुत अच्छे फॉर्म में थी, डोमेस्टिक में बहुत अच्छा परफॉर्म करते हुए आ रही थी। और दीप्ति शर्मा, जो काफ़ी टाइम से सीनियर प्लेयर हैं, हमेशा चाहे मिडल ओवर्स में बॉलिंग करा लीजिए, चाहे उनसे बैटिंग करा लीजिए ऊपर, चाहे डेथ ओवर में उनसे बॉलिंग करा लीजिए, मुझे लगता है उनसे होनहार खिलाड़ी इस टीम में, मुझे लगता है एक बहुत ही बेहतरीन खिलाड़ी एक वुमेन्स इंडियन टीम को मिला है। और शेफाली डोमेस्टिक में बहुत ही अच्छे फॉर्म में थी, तो मुझे लगता है उसका इफेक्ट उन्होंने उस फाइनल इतने बड़े गेम में उन्होंने दिखाया।
Diana Edulji, I want to come to you because you've seen Indian cricket, women's cricket through the not so good times, the 70s, 80s, 90s, 80s and 90s, when often you had to travel in unreserved railway compartments. You actually had to crowdsource your way, if I'm not mistaken, to even attend a World Cup. You want to give us a sense what this means for people like you who struggled in those days, Diana? What yesterday means?
Well, after winning the World Cup last night, I cannot believe that 50 years have passed since we started playing cricket. And that those 50 years, the transformation that has taken place in women's cricket is immense. It was a watershed moment for me. I was at the ground watching the game live, and I just could not control my emotions. I was absolutely over the moon. This was a trophy which I wanted very badly. We missed it narrowly in 2017. We missed the T20 in Melbourne very narrowly with the finals we played there. That was a trophy which I wanted in the BCCI cabinet. And as a COA member, I knew this team is capable of doing things. I gave them everything they wanted, and I just said, I want performance. And just before the finals, when I spoke to Harman and I said, I want that star on the jersey that the men have three. Let's start with our women also, senior women, because the junior and under 19 have 2 stars on their jersey. It's time that the seniors do it. And she finally, the team and all the full team played like champions. I was very proud. It was a great moment, a historical day. And just going back 50 years, I feel it's worth living 50 years in this moment.
Sharda Ogra, you've written a very evocative piece recently about about how a billion dreams in a way are ignited when the Indian team does so well. Do you believe a real barrier has been broken? And do you give the credit to the players? Do you give some credit to the BCCI that a couple of years ago actually decided to give equal pay to women cricketers? What do you believe has changed, Sharda? Has something changed in the world of sport as far as India is concerned, where women sportsmen can dream big?
Hi, thanks, Rajdeep, for having me here. And before I answer, I'll do the thing that you hate your guests do. That's to say, congratulations to Diana, to Mitali, to Poonam, to Sushma, and for this great performance. I'm so happy for all of you. I think what has changed definitely has been the quality of the competitiveness of the players, their readiness for the fight, and the fact that they were so prepared and so ready for this. Now, mind you, a World Cup at home is not an easy World Cup to win. It's very difficult because there is pressure and all of it. But when I saw this women's team, it was like these women who are walking on the shoulders of all these giants that had got them there, particularly in the final. It did not seem to be. I mean, I was so stressed out during the semi-final while watching Jemima chase, even though like we had not lost a lot of wickets and the tempo of the innings was fine. But in the final, I thought they were much more relaxed, much better. I think since the time the BCCI started giving contracts to the senior players, a small bunch of them, we can discuss the money issue later. I'm a bit sort of 50-50 on that. Post 13, 14, 15, at least acknowledging the existence of women players as professionals that need to be supported like the men are supported. The introduction of the WPL is a very big thing. That's all the factors that have come together, and we've got this terrific performance and this terrific team.
Why do you say equal pay for women cricketers was not a turning point? You seem to be 50-50 on that. Was that not a major factor, or just the fact that women cricket was finally being recognized was more important?
I think women's cricket, the pay parity factor, it's a bit of a smoke and mirrors according to me, because you're promising them the same amount of money, but they don't play the same amount of games. So you can play 15 lakh rupees a test match, but if women are not going to play test matches, what's the point? So they don't play that many games, and you're looking then at retainership contracts, you need to have that at least at par. And you can see, because of the fact that the WPL has been put into place, you have been able to get all this talent coming through. You had 10 debutants, I think, in a World Cup in this team. Also, the fact that this the performance bonus, as it's called, the 50 crores that have been given, is unequal to what the men got for a 2020 win, which is 125. And the moment you say it's unequal, everyone starts getting a little bit prickly and bristly and saying, oh no, but it's okay, it's fine, it's the women. And you're talking about TV rights and media rights. That's not the business of the women. It's not the business of the women to get TV rights money. It's the business of the PCCI to get the money, to market the women's game, to run the women's game as a separate vertical in their, that's why I'm saying I'm 50-50. I don't want to be a grumpy and a grouch, and I'm very happy for the women. And may they get more rewards and awards.
Okay, and today is not a day to be, I guess, where we can keep the grouses and the grumpiness for another day and discuss that also. But Mithali, do you believe that somewhere self-belief has come in? That's the big difference. The belief that they can do it. They rub shoulders with the Australian players, for example, regularly in the WPL. So the self-belief has come into the game in a manner that perhaps was not the case in the past, when, as Sharda rightly put it, there was a time when women's cricket was not even recognized in the way that it should have been. I've seen stories of how difficult it was for some of you to actually continue play the sport.
See, I think the belief has come from WPL. It has definitely transformed women's cricket. I would say these 3 seasons, every time the players are put into the crunch situation during the franchise league, we've seen some amazing innings, matches getting into that super over in Bangalore. Every game in the franchise league is tight. And when you find an Indian player in that situation, time and again, you eventually find a way out of that current situation. You'll find a way how to get going through those situations. Those experiences help you then when you're competing at the global events. You know that you've already gone through those experiences. Let's say for Richa Ghosh, she comes into that particular role in T20s as a hitter in the last 5 overs. And the same role was given to her in this World Cup as well, in that batting lineup. And she pretty much knows how to go about. If we talk about Harmanpreet Kaur, the innings against Gujarat Giants in Delhi, single-handedly she took the match away. So if you consistently are in that situation, you sort of understand your game well. There is a better awareness of it, and there is that self-belief that, yes, in this situation, out of 5 games, I'm able to get the team out of 3 times. So that's where you build on the confidence and the belief. And without support, without resources to prepare for this big event, I don't think you would have the wings to soar. A huge credit to BCCI. Yes, the things that Sharda spoke, it's for another day, but BCCI has definitely made a lot of they've gotten a number of games before this event. India has stood England. They've played England. They've played Australia. They've got this number of ODI games before a World Cup to prepare them well. They've got camps. They've had particularly skill camps, whether it is batting camps or bowling camps, getting camps in the venues where they are going to play more games during this tournament, whether it is Vizag or it is Mumbai. So I think everything has got the team to perform the way they did. Yes, credit should go to the players, to the support staff. Indian team has about 18 to 20 support staff minus the 15-member squad. So you can understand, how much BCCI has worked in the last 2-3 years to give them that resources and facilities. I'm sure if the same amount of support was given to the former players at the times of 80s and 90s, we would probably had a better result as well in terms of the World Cup and the matches that they've played.
In a sense, therefore, Diana Edulji, there are those who are calling this India's 1983 moment, likening it to what Kapil Dev achieved, broke a barrier, India wins the World Cup, defeats the mighty West Indies, here we defeat the mighty Australians in the semi. Is this a 1983 moment? In a way, are we going to, in your view, see women's cricket now go to another level?
Rajdeep, I would actually say the turning point came in 2017, when we entered the finals at Lord's and just missed out on that we just lost by 8 runs. That is when everybody woke up and started recognizing women's cricket. So I would say, in a way, yes, 83 moment, But this victory has given much more than what 83 guys got. So that is the only difference. So Sharda shouldn't complain. In 83, the men hardly got any money, but the women are getting a lot of money here. So I don't grudge it at all. I'm happy. I would want more, definitely. Yeah, Rajdeep.
Right. We all want more. We all want more in whatever profession we do. But Sharda Ugra, is this an 83 moment? Or is this a bit like 2011? I mean, I'm trying to draw parallels, maybe wrongly, with the men's game. But the belief, that self-belief, the ability to hand pressure situations, to find new stars like Jemima, to find wonderful stories like that of a Harmanpreet or a Deepti Sharma, all of which seems to suggest that we have created... Women's cricket now has a story to tell. In fact, women's sport, if you look at PV Sindhu, the Sania Mirzas, all of them have stories to tell.
Yeah, I agree with Diana here. It's not exactly the 83 moment in that sense, because that's the male lens that you're looking at the women's game with. I think 2017 was breakout for the simple reason that you had those matches on television for the first time, and everyone across the country could switch on their television and see how extraordinary these players were, who they were, what their skill sets were, what they were able to do. And this win, what it's going to do, it's going to literally accelerate this growth and development and popularity of women's cricket. So maybe it's more 2011, or maybe a post IPL type of thing. That's the closest I can get to it. But we don't need to actually compare it with sort of the male history, because the women have their own route and their own path. And I think what it will do is certainly break open a lot of these girls in this team. More than half of them are sort of successors of this 2017 story that happened. So Harman and Smriti are followed in the footsteps of Julan and Mitali. But all the girls that are later, the younger girls, they all are Harman and Smriti's sort of successors and after them. And they belong to that 20, they are the followers of that 2017 class. And now everyone who's watched this on TV, thousands and millions of girls around the world are going to say, I want to be there. I want to do that also. That number, that almost explosion of talent that we're going to see. And you're seeing it in every way. Every time something happens, you see there's some 17-year-old playing something. You hear of names and stories and people coming from all corners of the country. Most of these girls, half of them they were not from the big cities. They were from the smaller towns. Harmanpreet herself is from Moga.
Right.
Smriti is from Sangli. So you have that kind of pattern play itself out in another way, in its own way and its own shape.
Either way, we are smiling through all of this, and that's why I think I feel emotional at one level, because there's an innocence to the sport which you see when women's cricket celebrates, the way in which they celebrate a wicket, the way in which they came together. You almost feel as if sport is alive. And to see the power of 50, as I call it, the power of 50, meaning 50% of the population really expressing itself, maybe they will inspire many others across various fields of activity to aim big. So that's why it was a very, very special day in Mumbai, and we all have a smile on our face this Monday night. What can I say? Thank you, Harmanpreet, and thank you to the entire Indian team. You are all total rock stars. And to all my guests, thank you so much for joining me here on... Yes, Diana, you want to say something? 30 seconds.
Yeah, Rajdeep, I just want to say that I would like to praise ICC for promoting women's cricket so much. The way they have pumped into global promotion of women's cricket, Mr. Jay Shah is doing a wonderful job.
Okay, Mr. Jai Shah has often been targeted as a Nepo kid by his critics, but you have to give Jai Shah some of the credit for the fact that he has driven women's cricket, at least given them space in the last few years. And all credit to BCCI. When you do good things, we will praise you. But thank you all very much for joining us here on the show today.